Yo, what is good, everybody? It is your boy Golden Falls, Golden What Ifs, whatever you want to call me, and I am back. This is part 2 of What If Deku had a spirit control quirk. I want to bring this up really quick because I know some of you really like the Soggy stuff or the Blue Lock What Ifs. I still will be doing Blue Lock What Ifs. I'm gonna kind of go back and forth depending on what I'm feeling. Maybe I'll do like part 1 of this, part 1 of that, part 2 of this, part 2 of that. Maybe I might end up doing that, but I might also just do like a full what if and then change the anime and keep doing that. I haven't really fully decided just yet, but I just wanted to bring that up briefly. But I don't want to waste much more of your time. Sorry for the bit of an absence, but I want to get right back into the what ifs. So yeah, let's get it. Izuku Midoriya is about to actually take on his first quote-unquote challenge. His first challenge would be a heroes versus villains training. Now this training is supposed to be challenging. It's supposed to be extremely difficult, and he's actually going to be taking on Katsuki Bakugo. Yeah, his basically neighborhood bully. Now, they weren't fully on, he wasn't fully on bullying Izuku all the time, but he also wasn't the nicest person in the world. So Izuku doesn't really have, a big friendly relationship with Bakugo, but he does respect him. He just wishes Bakugo would be a better person. Now, he will be taking on Bakugo and Tenya Ida with the help of Ochaku Uraka as the heroes. And then, obviously, the other team would be the villains. All Might would instruct them on what they need to do, the 5-minute waiting period that the heroes need to take, and so on and so forth. But Izuku already has plans. He knows how to get in and out of things pretty damn quickly, and he knows that there's no point in actually looking for a fight with Katsuki Bakugo. So he basically tells Ochako once this is beginning, and once this starts, he's going to basically teleport around. He'll teleport around, find the location of the bomb, teleport back to her, and it'll be easy peasy. They'll get in and out of the building before anyone even notices. And, well, once the 5-minute timer's up, that's exactly what Izuku does. Teleporting in and out different places, eventually finding the room without Tenya actually knowing. As they will find this room, he would immediately teleport back to Ochako and teleport both of them right to the room that they need to be in, and they touch the bomb to win the bit of a training session. Now, this would infuriate Bakugo. He would be pretty damn pissed about this because he wanted to fight. He wanted a scrap, and he wanted to prove to everyone that Izuku, well, he wasn't that good. Because obviously we know Izuku is the #1 student, at least in Class 1A, and he wants to prove why he should be the #1 student. But again, Izuku gets the upper hand on him, proving why his quirk or his powers are really unique and really beneficial. And this will continue to happen over and over again, especially when we go into the next training-like session that these two will be going through. Because they're excited. They're happy to hear that there is a bit of rescue training on the horizon. And, well, this rescue training is going to flip into something completely different. Initially, it was going to be training. Initially, it was going to be, them working out to figure out certain things and do this or do that. But now, we're talking a totally different playing field. We're talking a completely different scenario, because when they go to the USJ, when they're there to train and work hard and get their training session in order, well, they would get slapped in the face by a villain attack. Yes, the League of Villains lay siege on the USJ, and this would absolutely terrify so many, and they would be just absolutely scared. Now, this would be when Aizawa tells them all to basically stay calm, just stay put, and embrace themselves, be prepared. And Izuku, well, he's about to tell him, like, what do you want him to do? Should he go and try to get help? Should he warn them and then come back, or stay there, or what should he do? In which Aizawa looks at him and tells him that he can figure that out. He knows he can. He's a smart kid. He tells him to go get help, but from then on, it's all up to him, because that is what they're preparing them for. They're preparing them for the unpreparable. This is exactly what they were worried about in terms of students getting roped into things like this. And this leads Izuku to teleporting away and getting help from the other heroes. But instead of staying there, instead of being safe, even the other heroes telling him to stay put and not go back, he would teleport right back in, believing that he could help so many different people there, and that's exactly what he does. He teleports around to different places, saving and helping a lot of his fellow classmates. As he teleports his fellow classmates to a certain location to basically get them all set up and get them all well ready, he saves a countless number of them. Now, some of them didn't necessarily need saving, but they did need a little bit of help to actually get through what they were getting through. Now, would they have gotten through it initially anyways? Yeah, of course. But with the help of Izuku, they were able to kind of handle things to a large degree, and handle things to a very large degree. Now, they would continue to kind of push forward, and he would continue to help as many people as possible, eventually leading him to seeing Aizawa about to get attacked by an absolute freak of nature known as a Nomu. He would immediately get in the way of the Nomu, teleporting in and growing in size. He would block the attack, it would send him flying, and he would feel the power behind the Nomu strike, realizing that this thing is no freaking joke. So much so that there's just no way that his gigantified form would be able to defeat him. He doesn't know what he's supposed to do. He tries his best to defend against him as Aizawa's laying there pretty much hurt and almost out of the battle. Izuku would tell Aizawa that he can hold this thing off, at least for the moment, but he needs Aizawa to recover, in which Aizawa nods his head, not extremely hurt to the point where he's out cold or anything like that, but he is definitely out of the fight at the moment. Now, this would lead to Izuku just blocking so many attacks with his gigantified form and trying to protect Aizawa. As he's protecting him though, he obviously realizes that this form, it's not going to do it, and all it's doing is delaying the inevitable. Yes, he called for help earlier, and the help is literally about to arrive, but how much is the help going to really matter when, well, they're going to have to deal with this Nomu even on an earlier timing? And, well, the Nomu continues to try to batter Izuku, and as All Might would finally arrive, well, Izuku would realize that there is something else that he could have done, something else that he could have and should have done to take on the Nomu. He shrinks back into his normal size, and the Nomu would charge back at him. He knows that if he's hit in this normal size, it's gonna hurt like hell, but he knows that he has to do something to try and help All Might, especially with this thing being the quote-unquote All Might killer. He punches the Nomu just a tiny bit. It does 0 damage to it, and the Nomu would send him flying. All Might would then grab him and save him from slamming into a wall, and All Might would look at him and ask him if he's okay. He would look at his fist and tap on his own fist and tell All Might that he needs to get in the fight, but just be aware of what's happening to the Nomu as he's fighting him. In which, of course, All Might has no idea what he's referring to and no idea what's happening. But he agrees, and he goes into the fight with the Nomu. But as the fight continues, the Nomu gets weaker and weaker and weaker, to the point where All Might doesn't even have to put in a ton of effort to actually stop the Nomu. But as he's getting weaker, the Nomu seems to be losing not only durability, but quirks. It seems like the powers that he had initially, the durability, the friction resistance, all of it is fading away quickly, to the point where he's literally being sapped of all of his powers in terms of his quirks and superpowers and so on. Now, as this is happening though, it seems like the Nomu is shrinking, and it seems like the Nomu is actually reverting back to a different point. But it's not necessarily what's happening. It's actually bringing the person that was once turned into a Nomu back to the playing field and actually back to his normal self. But as this is happening, and as the person is revealing himself more and more, well, let's just say the eyes of the person would tell the whole story. Whatever happened during that time, whatever torture he went through, it already lays dormant right in his own brain. It lays right there on his face. He knows how much hurt, how much horrible things that happened, how much hurt and horrible things he did, but also all the horrible things that happened to him as well. He looks at him and he's basically borderline in tears, and Shigaraki would look to Kurogiri, telling him to get them the hell out of here. In which Izuku tries to react to this and tries to get Shigaraki and tries to teleport him back to where they are. But before you know it, they're already gone. And this would immediately annoy Izuku a little bit. But with the reality of the fact that now they have the ability to actually sap these Nomus of their own superpowers or their own quirks, it seems to actually have a new version of the power that Izuku holds and a new purpose for the power and the quirk to a large degree. But with the events of the USJ and everything that, well, happened, it seems like the kids and everybody in UA, or at least Class 1A, is going to get a bit of a tiny break. Of course, when you get villains invading and people trying to kill you, you probably want to take a little breather to make sure that everything's okay. But this is time for Izuku to try his best to basically learn more about his quirk, what he can do, and so much else that he possibly could get basically done with his quirk entirely. Now, he doesn't know everything about it. Of course, he's lacking quite a bit in terms of what he can possibly do with his quirk. But it's still a good time for him to learn as much as possible. He now knows that he can basically sap the quirk out of certain people with obviously his spirit fission of some likelihood. But the thing is he doesn't know exactly how it works. It was kind of out of a source of need, a source of I need to actually survive, and I actually need to do anything I possibly can to make sure that Aizawa would survive. So it kind of was a place of need for him to actually sap the quirk out of the Nomu. In terms of actually doing it on command, well, it's probably a different idea or a different kind of breakdown. He doesn't necessarily know how it's going to work, but he does know that he can do it, and that's what matters. But after some time off and after some time away from, the school and stuff like that, they would finally enter the UA Sports Festival. The UA Sports Festival, would be the perfect time for everyone to show off their powers and stuff like that. Now, Izuku himself, he gets a bit of a speech done. He's a little bit awkward and a little bit of a shy person, but he gives his speech about how everyone's going to try their absolute best, that he's going to do anything he possibly can to win, and all this other stuff, and basically telling him, okay, we're going to give you guys a show. Now, in terms of the UA Sports Festival, Izuku shows that he is at a completely different level, especially to start from the very beginning. Because the very beginning has an obstacle course race that Izuku straight up just teleports through and beats everybody by a large margin. We're talking about multiple minutes of time. He was ahead of everybody, and he just defeats everybody and beats everybody in a matter of a split second. Now, this would obviously lead them into the cavalry battle, in which Izuku, when teaming up with many other people like Ochako, Meihatsume, Tokiyami, it is a very easy game plan. That game plan is to basically avoid fighting at all times, but also utilize Izuku's ability to teleport to their advantage. And the fact is, Izuku is able to teleport with multiple people, so he's just evading people to a large degree. And it gets to the point where people basically start giving up on trying to get the 10 million point ban from Izuku. They know that if they continue to chase him, they're just going to waste all their time, so they're going to just avoid him. There's no point in trying to continue the chase, so they avoid him and just allow Izuku to hold on to the band, as basically their team would be a guarantee shoo-in for a win, or guarantee shoo-in to get into the next round. Everything does begin to change, though, when he has to actually do something different. Now, these last two were kind of odd. They're not like straight up fighting or anything like that. But this kind of new thing that they're going to be going into is a 1 versus 1s to see who is the best among everybody of the first years. And Izuku, well, he's excited about it. He really is. He's excited to see where he's at in terms of capabilities of one-on-one fighting, but also excited to see what these other people have to offer. And that person, or one of those people that is included in all of that, is Hitoshi Shinso. Shinso is someone who he has not worked with, he has not trained against, he has not trained with, and hasn't done anything with. He's actually in general studies. So he's interested to see how Shinso was able to get to this round. And the first fight is him versus Shinso, and it's a pretty interesting one. Izuku is kind of game planning in his head, like how he should do this, how he should approach things. And before this actually even started, he would get a warning from one of his classmates about Shinso's powers. So Izuku would make sure that he doesn't talk to him at all. And Shinso would try his best to do everything, asking him questions, making fun of him, saying that he's the fake #1 student and blah blah blah. But Izuku and his powers, he's grown up to basically be able to control himself to a large degree. So falling for these little shenanigans, it's nothing too crazy. So Izuku just easily gets him out of the ring, pushing him off, and or teleporting him to the edge and then pushing him off, and he easily defeats him. Now, this isn't the end of what he's gonna have to deal with though, because he's then gonna have to take on someone like Todoroki. And Todoroki is a powerhouse. Todoroki has some insane powers, being that of a insane ice-like Quirk, but also a fire-like Quirk that he doesn't necessarily use. Izuku does start the fight pretty quickly with teleporting around and making it extremely hard to actually hit him. Todoroki tries his best and honestly overloads himself with how much ice he utilizes, because he's trying to cover the entirety of the platform with ice to stop Izuku from just teleporting around. This would ensue in kind of a stamina drain. A drain of stamina from Todoroki, and Todoroki becomes extremely exhausted to the point where he can't really use his ice quirk to the way he believes he can, and on top of that, he can't really do much about it. And he believes that he basically has lost, like he's going to lose here to Izuku. But Izuku tells him, like, you know, you could use your fire quirk. You can use that other quirk that, well, everybody knows you have. Why not? Why not use it? Why not actually, help yourself out here? In which immediately they would kind of, or Todoroki would tell him, like, he doesn't understand. Like, he doesn't get it. Like, of course he could use it, but it would just be playing into the hands of his dumb father. His father would just know that he has the best over him and knows that he needs his quirk to win this fight, but he doesn't want to use his quirk to win this fight. He wants to prove to everyone that he doesn't need it. He wants to prove to his father that he doesn't need his quirk. In which this is when Izuku, basically tells him, like, come on, dude, what are you talking about? Like, that is not your father's quirk. That is your quirk. That is your power, and you should hold that to your chest, and you should show everybody what you're capable of as well as a individual. You making your power basically unknown and you hiding that fire side of your quirk just makes things even worse. You're giving him the power to basically say that, oh yeah, you're just going to do, like, I basically own you. In which Todoroki hears this and realizes that he can become his own hero, at least for the moment, and he begins to utilize his fire side, recovering quite a bit of that stamina and being able to obviously take on Izuku a lot better. This would lead to Izuku basically just trying his best to outlast Todoroki to a large degree, and the fight goes on for quite a while, and Izuku would be eventually overwhelmed by the fire and the ice of Todoroki, and he would be unable to actually get out of the way. But even Todoroki would know that if the platform wasn't limited, if this fight wasn't limited, and we were on an open field as big as you could possibly imagine, Izuku would have no problem defeating him. Like, actually no problem. Izuku was restricted in terms of what was happening, and the real reason why Todoroki won not only was the usage of his fire side, but was also because of the restriction of how big the platform was in the first place. But Izuku would tell him, after he kind of goes on a bit of a tangent about this, he tells him that a win is a win no matter what, and that he deserves the win, and he beat him, and he beat him in this scenario, and this is all that matters. Like, the scenario itself is all that matters. In which, of course, Todoroki would hear this out, and he would continue on trying his best to get through the rest of the UA Sports Festival, and he would actually use his fireside against Bakugo. And in so using his fireside against Bakugo, Todoroki would find himself to be the winner of the UA Sports Festival. But of course, we still get a bit of a tantrum from Bakugo in a way, where he still wants to fight Izuku and find out who's better. And of course, there's just another way for Izuku to avoid fighting him, and it would frustrate him quite a bit. But after this is all said and done, well, let's just say Izuku would get a conversation, or kind of have a conversation with All Might that he never expected himself to have. And that conversation is about one for all, in which Izuku has no idea what that even means. What the hell is one for all? And is that like some sort of new like boy band or something? Like, he doesn't get it. He didn't even know All Might was into boy bands. That's like kind of weird. In which, of course, he would explain that no, one for all is his quirk, a quirk that he can utilize, and a quirk that Izuku basically can take on for himself and become even stronger and become the pseudo kind of successor to All Might. In which Izuku hears this and thinks, look, that's amazing, that's awesome, and that's just great. But here's the thing, how does All Might even know, for one, that he's ready for something like this? Two, how does All Might know that it's time for him to pass on this quirk? In which All Might basically shows him that he's extremely hurt, extremely injured, and he's been going through this for quite a bit, and he only has a fraction of his power now. In which Izuku looks at him and thinks to himself that maybe hold on to it for a little bit longer. Don't just give it away now. He knows and he appreciates that he thinks that All Might thinks of him as a suitable successor. But don't throw away the powers just yet, because there might be a way for him to be back to tip-top prime All Might shape. There's no guarantee, but there's a chance. And if that chance is even slim to none, he should take it. In which, of course, All Might says, like, that's ridiculous. Like, there's no way he'll be able to go back into his tip-top shape again. But Izuku tells him, listen, trust me, there's more to my powers, and he knows, and Izuku tells him that he knows that there is even more than he could possibly imagine, and there's a chance that he might be able to heal All Might. He knows it's a long shot, but there's a chance. He doesn't know how it works just yet, but he saw or has seen aspects of his quirk that he's never known to exist. So there's a chance that healing is just one of them, and he wants to be able to help All Might, just not in the way that All Might wants right now. But maybe in the future, maybe very soon, he'll find someone even better suited for one for all than even himself. Izuku tells All Might this, and well, the training would continue on for Izuku all the way up until the internships, as the internships would kind of be in question for Izuku, because he doesn't really get a ton of offers. There's really not that many offers there, but actually All Might would set him up with Gran Torino, which would allow him to get a lot of good training in with someone that is very experienced in martial arts, but also fighting, but also kind of controlling a quirk that is a little bit harder to control. In which when he meets Gran Torino, it's a little bit awkward, it's a little bit weird. I mean, the guy is acting like an old man who doesn't understand things, but he gets really solid training from him, learns a new fighting style, and kind of learns how to properly use different aspects of his own quirk. Gran Torino even brings up the idea of him being able to heal, in which Izuku says yes, there's a possibility of it, but there's so much to his quirk that if he feels like he's learning something new about it every single day, and he's never able to master anything. In which he tells Izuku that he needs to figure out what kind of hero he wants to be. What does he want to master? What does he want to figure out? What does he believe is the most important thing for him to learn? In which Izuku, he says he doesn't know. He has no idea. The best thing he has right now is teleporting. He can instant transmission like at a whim, and he's really good at it. So at least that's borderline mastered. But everything else, the gigantification, the spirit fission, everything it's so complicated, and he doesn't know. In which Gran Torino nods his head and he asks him, what if right now, if he had to pick one thing to try his best to learn and he needs to know more about it, something that could really help people, something that can allow him to be a hero, what would it be? In which Izuku tells him that he wants to make sure that he can control the ability of spirit fission. He feels like it could be basically an addition to so much of what he can do. Maybe if he masters the ability to really control the spirit, he might be able to heal people differently and a lot better than anyone could imagine. In which, of course, that's where they would head the training off of. They would prepare the training in that direction. And Izuku would focus solely on that, do tons of meditation, and do tons of kind of control in terms of like trying to maintain himself to a large degree. In which Gran Torino helps with that heavily, and it gets to the point where Izuku feels extremely confident in his spirit fission and is actually able to heal just a tiny bit. Like literally like a tiny bit. He got a little cut on his foot and he was able to heal it, but it took so much concentration and he just needs to have more time with it, a lot more time with it. In which that's what he's going to have. Over the course of a couple days, he just continues to do this until, well, Gran Torino tells him that they're going to go out and they're going to have a little bit of a kind of in real world type of training session. They're going to do a bit of walking around, check out what's going on, maybe see some other people, do a little bit of patrolling. And that's what they want to do. And Gran Torino does that. And they actually head to Hosu City to do just that. They patrol for a little bit, and that's until they get absolutely bombarded by a bunch of Nomus, in which Izuku begins to, well, use his quirk to actually slow down the Nomus and take away their quirks and their ability to actually kind of continue fighting, in which this works perfectly, slowing down Nomu after Nomu. He's able to stop every last one of them, and in doing this, it allows him to kind of learn more about his spirit fission and also learn more about the spirit parts of his quirk in terms of, you know, hopefully learning how to heal a lot better. But in doing this and helping all of these people, he didn't realize that someone else needed help, someone that he wasn't prepared to help, and someone that, well, shouldn't have been there in the first place. That is Tenya Ida. And after everything is settled, after he sees a hero killer that is on the ground out cold by Endeavor and many others, he sees something else. Tenya Ida on a stretcher getting taken off to the hospital, hoping that the guy, that person, his classmate, will still survive from the countless wounds that he has basically intaked from the hero killer. Now, there is no idea if he will really survive or not, but something in Izuku's head's telling him to go meet him at the hospital. And that's what he does. He goes straight to the hospital and he sees that Tenya's in surgery, holding on to just grasps of straws, hoping that he basically can survive this, but he doesn't know if he will. He doesn't know if he can, and he doesn't know if Tenya has much else in him to actually survive. Which Izuku would wait there, and he would wait there during their break before going into the final exams. And as he waits and as he hopes and as he really doesn't want Tenya to, you know, fall further, he would sneak into the room of Tenya in the hospital room, and he would hope to heal him. He would hope to do so. And that's exactly what he tries to do. But he's putting his hands over Tenya, and he would hope. He would hope and try to control things, and he would try to relax himself and try to utilize his quirk to a degree he's never done before. And as he's doing this, he hopes, he basically prays, and then eventually what happens would shock him entirely. What happens is Tenya's eyes would open and Tenya would be back. He would be shocked to see Izuku, asking what's going on, like, I mean, how long has it been? In which Izuku would run out to get the doctors. The doctors would be in shock. What happened? How is he back? He should have been out cold in a coma for weeks, months, maybe even a year. There's just no way. How is he back? And it seems like every test they do, it tells them that there's really nothing else wrong with him. They're still going to want to keep him in here for at least a week, but there's really not much wrong with him. other than the mental kind of scars now that he has. But everything seems to be healed. And with Izuku, before they can say anything, Izuku's gone. All he can think about is the fact that he did it. All that he can think about is that his powers seem to be awakening and furthering themselves quicker than he could possibly imagine. But what's next? Well, the thing that's next is the final exams. You got to do a written portion and a practical, and the practical is going to be something that everybody will remember forever. Izuku Midori and Katsuki Bakugo will take on All Might. And we'll have to see who will actually win and who will actually come out on top. Or maybe Izuku decides to go the smart route, which is definitely a possibility. But with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, enjoyed part 2 of What If Deku Had a Spirit Control Quirk. If you did, show some love, leave a like, leave a sub, leave a comment down below, all that good stuff. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope all y'all have an amazing day. Later.